Alright, what's up, guys? The question of the day is, I think I do slur my words sometimes. It could be, some people are just, maybe I'm just not used to talking. I mean, like, as far as, like, making videos, you're not, like, you're gonna, you always think you're saying the wrong thing, so you're like, stuttering your words, maybe. So you don't know what you're saying, or you don't know what to say, or what you should say. But all that aside, I still feel like I might still have a bit of trauma. There's guaranteed, there's still, I might still have a bit of brain damage. Just a bit. I don't know how much. We don't, that's the thing, it's not something you can, measure. It's not only one bad fight that can do it. It could just be one bad punch that you took, let alone one whole bad fight. So you never know. Like you won't know. You'll probably know later on if it affected you. But it's hard to say because I'll catch myself fucking misfiring. Like the words that always, like if I'm talking to someone, I'm like, I don't know how they think about that. I'm like this is this guy is this guy's something's wrong with that guy. Like you can tell there's something wrong with that guy from his speech. So it could be from the headshots. Then I have to ask myself if I was like that before that happened, or or is it just how I talk, or there's a gap. Sometimes I can speak super fluent. Like it depends. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I think when you're talking without, let's say I'm without thinking, when you're not thinking, is this coming out like a normal conversation? It doesn't happen. It's when I think about something a couple hours before that I have to say later on, and I'm trying to say it the same way I said it a couple hours before, and then you just forget. It's like, oh well, it's not coming out the same because that was a couple hours ago. So like now I'm like trying to, it's like I'm trying to re-quote what I said a couple hours ago, and then I'm like, oh, it's not what I said. So I'm like, I'm just looking for the words instead of just saying it how it is. Maybe that's the case too. It's hard to say, but I also feel like I lose gaps of time. Like time is weird sometimes. It's like, oh fuck, okay, we're back. Like where did we go? Where did we go? Where did the mind go for that fucking half hour or 2 hour fucking period? Even I don't even know if I can blame weed. Like I don't even smoke weed anymore, and it still happens. So I don't know. But the mind is so adaptable too. I think because I've been doing the same routine for so long, it just repeats itself. I'm just repeating patterns. So maybe I'm doing it more mindlessly. It's more you don't have to think about it as much. So you're just acting instead of like thinking. And then when you're in the act, when the act's over, you're like, oh fuck, where did I go? Well, you were doing the same thing. You just weren't. Your mind wasn't as engaged because you're just so used to doing it. So maybe that's another reason. So it's probably not all brain damage, but hopefully not. I'm still kind of worried that when I hit 60, it might go, yeah. If I get to 60, I'm kind of worried a bit. I can't say I don't worry about it because I kind of do. It depends. I don't know. If I compare to other guys who think took the same damage or more, I'm like, how are these guys still going to be functional? Because I know guys, well, obviously, every guy who does it long enough, who fights long enough, that gets in wars often enough, there's gonna have to be some repercussion. The thing is, we haven't got there yet. Like we've seen the guys like obviously Ali, he's fucked. He took lots of hits, but I'm talking about like this generation here, like the Dustin Poiriers and Holloways, the guys we've seen in wars, Gaethje. Like these guys are still doing it, and they took Alvarez. He took a lot of fuck. Alvarez took some hits. That's what I'm curious to see, like in a couple years, where these guys are gonna be mentally. I'm worried for those guys. Even Cerrone. Because these guys are in their 40s now, like close cutting. Yeah, they're all getting into their 40s. They've been in wars. Like I've been in some wars, in fights, and mostly out of fights too. Like in training, which is the stupidest thing ever. We're basically fighting. Like we're fighting before the fight. That's how we were. That was the mentality back then. Like we were fighting before we even got into the fight. So I took more. I might have took more hits training than in the actual fight themselves. So I don't know, because I took concussions from training. I I had to take time off just from. I took time off from training because I was getting hit too much. Like problems there, like nerve damage and muscle damage, whiplash, headaches from training. That 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 made me not be able to fight. Now I can't fight because I got fucking knocked out in training. It made no sense. So now I'm missing out on a fight because I got fucking knocked out in training. I rather would have gotten knocked out in the fight. And that's what happens when you don't control your environment. When you're not the guy. You're not the guy in charge at the gym. Like you got guys coming in, looking to try to hurt the guy that's got the fucking. The guy's got this. What do you say that? Like the target on his back. Like the guys who are ready for fights, and you got guys coming in that are just randoms. And like these are the guys who want to test you. And then even though you know you're supposed to be just sparring, those guys they don't care. They don't care, dude. So we're going 50% on these guys, and these guys are trying to rip your head off. That's why you can't train at commercial gyms. Not commercial gym, but like gyms where they let anybody in, like because they need the money. So if it's unless it's you have to train with guys that are. But then again, you kind of, I don't know. I don't think. Yeah, I don't know if it's the best way to go. Nowadays we learned that it wasn't, but back then we didn't know better. So I took so many hits. I got dropped from a head kick in sparring. I got dropped from a a knee and like a quick flash, like it's not nothing crazy, like you just go out for like half a second and you come back just from a roll, like an intense grappling session. Even it was just grappling. You walk into an accidental knee, hit you in the head. He wasn't even throwing a knee. Like you're going for a shot on him, and you land in his knee, like as he's coming forward. So shit like that, like, and sparring, head kick. Even if he didn't intend to kick you in the head, he threw his leg and you just happened to get it in the head. You got full on head kick. Okay. Rattled. Okay, I got rattled there. And then sparring some random dude. Just, sparring. I'm going 50 because I'm trying not to hurt this guy because he's smaller. Worst idea ever. I get clipped with a hook. I didn't know it was a hook. I just thought I got head kicked by a guy sparring behind me. When I woke up, I'm like, did that guy in the back hit me, or? And the guys, no, I hit you with a hook. I'm like, oh fuck, I did not see it. I didn't see it. The ones you don't see, and that's what they say. The ones you don't see coming are the ones who knock you out, because you're not ready for them, right? You're not braced. You're not expecting them. So that's why you gotta be careful. Like, maybe I should have been more. No, yeah, that's the thing. When you think you're going 50 and the other guy's going 100, that's what happens. That's why you need to have a mutual agreement. Like, how? That's the best way to do it. You need a mutual agreement. Like, you gotta tell the guy. So are we sparring or are we fighting? Let me know, because we have to. Because every time I knew that was the agreement, like we were going hard, things never really went wrong. Because I'm like, okay, we're going at it. Now we're going at it. So now you're always alert, not only alert, but you're ready for it. So you're throwing not to get hurt. You're trying not to get hit as much as possible. And you're trying to hit the guy as much as possible, because that's what he's trying to do to you. So it's like a mutual, like, okay, we're going at it. We're going to go at it. Even though it's sparring and it's stupid. We're going to fight in sparring. So now you're taking hits, but they're not dropping you, because you're like, you're ready for them, and you're expecting them more. And that I found I never got really hurt. I had headaches from those, but not like you'd get up with a headache. Like you'll wake up, you'll have a headache just from, okay, we went hard last night. Okay, that's why. We basically fought in the gym. So yeah, you wake up with a headache, and then you ask yourself, was that beneficial for my brain? It's like, I don't know. And then I'm like, fuck, I should have just gotten the fight. I should have just signed the paper with a guy and say and made a date. Because now I feel like I put brain cells on the line for no reason. That's how I look at things too. I'm like, I put my brain cells on the line, and I don't even get any glory. Like, if I'm gonna get knocked out, I might as well fucking sign up for a battle that I can possibly get paid for. Even if I lose, I get paid. And then if I get my ass whooped, well, at least, that's another fight on my record. Instead of like, oh, you got knocked out in the gym, and it doesn't count. It doesn't even count. I should have just fucking. A lot of guys do this now. They run their own cams. They don't get hurt during practice. They might not even get better, but they get to train more. They train more, so they get better skilled, because they're not always getting hit. And then they fight. And then they find out if whatever And then that's when you find out. I think if you find out if the better fighter, if he's a better fighter just because he did it that way instead of brawling in practice. Who knows? Strickland brawls in practice. He's not the best guy in the world. So is that really helping him? I seen Adesanya go hard in practice. They go pretty hard. But I don't know. It's hard to say. I guess it's... At the end of the day, I find that the skilled guy or the guy who's just better is going to do well whether he gets beat up in practice or not, depending on his approach. Like we've seen guys exactly like Strickland, like he's the guy who talks about knocking guys out in practice and shit like that, but he's not even the best guy in the world. So is that really helping him? But he's a tough bastard, obviously. Tough bastard. So yeah, as far as if I took damage, I for sure took damage. In one of my fights too, 3 rounds, a full 3 rounds of just headshots. Both ways though. I was giving it as much as I took it. But we took a lot. We both took a lot. Took a lot of hits. That was a hard recovery. And that's when you have to ask yourself, when you got 2 guys, when you get to that level, like as early as that was when I started, I feel like that was already pretty close to that's what you're gonna experience if you're fighting the toughest guys. You can't avoid that. If you're fighting the toughest guys, that's how. It's not gonna be a cakewalk. I fought a dude. He was 3-0, kickboxing, 3-0. So he was no slouch. And those are the guys. Yeah, those are tough dudes. Like, I never fought a pussy. All the guys I fought had more than 3-4 fights. The MMA I fought he had 8 fights, I was told. So he had 8 professional fights. That doesn't count amateurs. But MMA, because of the rule set, it's super safer. Because then you can avoid damage by grabbing, at least. If I'd have never done kickboxing, I might have fought longer, guaranteed. Because all the damage I took in kickboxing affected me. Really affected me. Not just probably like mentally. Well, mostly mentally, because I'm like, I can't get another brawl like that. You can't brawl like that forever. So you have to fucking... Here's what happened too. I came back from that fight from kickboxing. I'm like, I have to fight again. Like, I feel like a real fighter comes back after a beating. I see a lot of dudes out there, they lose one fight because they found out what it was and then they never fought again. But I'm like, I'm not that dude, because I've been in a lot of fights and I'm like, I'm not, like, this is the hardest fight I've had. If this is the hardest fight I've had, it can't be any worse. So I figured, I'm like, I'm not going down like that. I'm gonna fight again. So I fight again, but I'm like, I'm gonna fight MMA this time. Because I know for a fact, if I fight MMA, I'm not taking this type of damage. Because I can somewhat wrestle and I know some grappling.